Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you to the very elite group who've braved the weather to do some very important learning. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to the Keynote Speaker Series lecture today, Romeo and Juliette, Passion, Poetry, and Prokofiev. As you all know, my name is Rebecca Wojciech, and I have the pleasure of working for the Vancouver Island Symphony and for coming to these lectures and hosting these events. I love all the learning that we've been doing, and it's been really inspirational and has informed the work that I do in the office every day. So just take a moment to make sure your ringers are turned off, and I'll take my moment as usual to thank our sponsors, Long & McQuaid Musical Instruments and Pinnacle Pharmacy. By now, we all know their names. Today's speaker, of course, is Cosette, and we're so glad to have her here because we'll get some insight into a little bit into the job of the artistic director. So yes, the artistic director researches and selects musicians to perform in the season, picks the works that she wants to conduct, picks the music that she wants to perform, and in our case, conducts the concerts. But the artistic director is different from, I don't want to say just the conductor, because they're telling an artistic story of the organization. And in Cosette's tenure with us, she has told her artistic story with our orchestra. And concerts like the one coming up in April are part of that story. In this case, she's working with artists who are currently alive. And the collaboration and the work that she's gone through to put together next month's concert is a part of the story that she wanted to tell our audiences. She wanted to tell you. So I'm particularly interested today to hear about the genesis of that idea, about how the work and the collaboration that she's gone through over these many, many months putting this show together, and then the fruition that we'll see come next month. So please welcome Cosette.
Thank you so much. Thank you, and thank you, Rebecca, for that lovely introduction. Yes, so today I first of all want to thank you for your curiosity, for being part of this beautiful interaction, beautiful journey we have experienced together since I started here 3 years ago. And I want to warn you that we are not going to be listening to the pieces, to the music that we will perform in April, because I purposely didn't want to give away anything. I am assuming that you're coming, and for those of you here present that are not, like Lynn shared with me, I got her contact information. We can get your contact information for then sending you links of these pieces and these guest artists that we will have in case you are here today, which we're so grateful for, but you would be missing. Even if later happens, you find out that you are missing the concert, always let us know. We will make sure to, retribute you for being here today, because others will go to the concert, but they are not present in this lecture. And by Rebecca doing this introduction, she shaped differently what how I'm going to be talking about in a good way. Because yes, it makes me aware of insights that I should probably share with you. Before I go a little bit into the particulars of these pieces and this program. Each orchestra has its own way to be structured, and some have a music director and don't have an artistic director. They have their artistic administrator and the person who will be doing programming for the orchestra. And then the music director will still have an overview on what the organization does. But it's true that if the organization is a little bit bigger, they will have a CEO that will be very involved in also the whole mission and the artistic, including the artistic way of expressing that beyond music. We are a very small organization that is very powerful and that, as you can enjoy, can offer so much. And one of the things I've enjoyed very much working with this orchestra artistically is working and caring for, giving a platform for art beyond music. And that is a way that sometimes is even something we have to advocate for and fight for, let's say in regards to budget. Like, why are we presenting something that is not music only? Why are we having two guests in this case, that are poets? Because why not? So it's all integrated, and I was just discussing with Jim before we started today that in as good as we have evolved in most ways in life as humanity, one of the bad things I find is the extreme level of specialty in everything, and how this holistic connection between like in medicine, within medicine, or in art, in anything we do, politics, with philosophy, with, sense of connecting things, it's been lost a little bit. And we are trying to go back to that. And for me, disconnecting music from poetry is impossible. It's so connected, right? And words, storytelling with music is one thing. So I had worked in Cuba. I had done projects with that intention, but with less resources, right? And when I then was an assistant conductor and later resident conductor of the Edmonton Symphony Orchestra, I was offered a beautiful opportunity to curate a new music program. And that was the first time that I learned about and engaged Titi Lopez Shonuga, who is one of the poets for this program. And you won't be able to see her because we have some technical limitations we encountered last minute, but you will hear her voice, and then you will see her in April. But I discovered with her poetry is incredibly powerful. She talks about many different issues, but especially about women, women power, basically, and she tells stories about women. And that first program I organized, curated for Edmonton, was of all female composers. And I then came to the idea to have her, instead of me talking from the stage to the audience, explaining every piece, I asked her to be the storyteller of the concert. And then she found in works she had written already. She sent me some of those works, and I had programmed music that incredibly, I can tell you, her poetry had words that were part of the title of pieces I had programmed. That was insane. And the way, then later I found out that she had collaborated, because the thing is to be open to listening. To listening to your audience, to the people who have done something. I learned that she had collaborated with one of our violinists on a poem that was having a commentary of violin that was specifically edited for this poetry. And then I said, well, why don't we start the concert with that piece? And then after the orchestra we had tuned and everything, we went dark. And I asked them to be sitting within the orchestra. I might be giving away things that I might do here, but well, again, this is something that you will experience or not. We'll see, because I'm still, it's still happening, right? We still create until the last minute. And they came to the front and said the first piece, only poetry and one violin, although we were all there. And they got a standing ovation. That's how the concert started. And that was the intimacy and the theatricality that was able to happen in that concert. And then again, I was creating last minute, I was like, why don't we do this and that? And many things happened within that concert, right? As many things will happen in this one I'm gonna talk about. So what I want to share with this is that for me, as you can maybe know by now, I'm always learning about what everybody can offer. So how can I gather that together? I feel very much like I'm a messenger, right? I'm a messenger from the composer to the musicians, and then through the musicians to you. How can we use every element for creating one experience that is the most powerful possible, beyond just coming and listening to some nice pieces, and that's it. In this program that I was able to prepare for April, there is a common theme. We have these beautiful words: passion, poetry, and Prokofiev is one of the composers. The theme I find that is very powerful in this program is love. Is love, because we are going to be starting with a piece by Lily Boulanger. She was the younger sister of Nadia Boulanger. Later, there is a photo we'll find in which order they will be appearing. You will see her sister. So you can see how beautiful she was and how young she was and how tired she was. She was born having then at the age of 3 already intestinal tuberculosis, which at the time didn't have a cure, and she struggled with that. She was born in 1893. And at the time, yeah, she struggled with that her whole life, and it took her away quite young. She died when she was 25 years old. So this is her sister, Nadia Boulanger, who was the famous professor of composition of so many, including Philip Glass, Aaron Copland, and others, many conductors as well. And even Gershwin, who came to Paris to study with her, she said to him, "No, I'm not gonna touch you. You are unique. You have a unique voice. You're gonna keep doing your thing." You know, Gershwin wanted to learn from everybody, every composer also that he met. And so was the case, by the way, of a Cuban composer, Alejandro Garcia Caturla, who around 1927 went to Paris and wanted to study with her. And she the same said, "Your voice is too unique. I am not gonna touch you and I'm not gonna teach you." But yes, she was a professor of generations. There you can see both of them and the year in which they were born. So this first piece is titled "De matin du printemps." My French is not great. I apologize for that. I have to improve it still. Although my name is French, I feel very committed to my French now. Everybody expects me to speak French. I'm like, nope. But this summer I will. That's my promise to myself. And this piece is one of the very last pieces that she wrote. And I will tell you a very important story later about her successes. But here, this piece, she wrote it in 1918, being 24 years old. And it's one of the very last pieces that she wrote. This one is very vibrant, it's very light, it's 5 minutes long only, full of impressionistic, colors and motion and modalities that are very particular of her influence, of course, by Debussy and other French composers. And is also paired often with one that is titled "A soirée triste," so of a sad evening. She was always in her music, you can feel the two voices, the power, like a life force, which is the case of the piece we're going to be presenting, and also her struggles and her health and pessimistic sometimes a view of why I have this pain all the time, which was truly expressed in her music. Here, for example, is a photo in which you truly can see how tired, how exhausted she was. You can see it under her eyes. So Nadia Boulanger was an incredible, talented composer, professor, pianist, person. She was of a very strong character, and sometimes somebody asked her, how did that question, I still get it, and she got it since then, is this typical question of how does it feel to be a woman and a conductor, because she was a conductor too. And she said something like, I don't know, I have been a woman for over 50 years and I've never been bothered by it. Something like that. She was genius, yeah, she was amazing. And totally unbothered with that concept and that thought, which I am by myself. None of us, when we do our profession, we have our gender in mind. Nobody does. You're focused on the issue, on the subject, and that's it, right? So that's a very funny question to ask. Then I wanted to share with you that Nadia herself, being so talented, had applied many times to the Prix de Rome, which is this prize in this exposition in Paris that was for giving a prize for architecture, literature, for many, many things, including music. And Nadia tried to apply 3 times and never succeeded, where her younger sister was even more gifted naturally, apparently, than Nadia was. And they both loved each other incredibly. And I'll tell you one beautiful expression of that love. So anyways, her sister, Lily, applied once and she got into the second round. So yeah, you win the first round and then you get into the second round, but she couldn't complete the task, which was to write this cantata for soloists and chorus and orchestra with based on a given text. She couldn't finish it. She couldn't do it, and some people were mistrusting her capacity to do that, and it was just due to her health. She couldn't do it. And then later, 1 year after, when she was 19 years old, she went again, applied again, and she won the prize. She won the prize. With writing a cantata titled Faust et Hélène. And the interesting thing about this second round to complete was that they would be sent to a villa to live outside of Paris for 2 weeks and only having available pencils and paper, not a piano. Everything had to be here. And they had to write in those 2 weeks this cantata and then submit, and that's the second round, right? So imagine what level of genius for these composers. Before her, winners of this prize were Gounod, Bizet, and Debussy himself. So this is at the level at which we are talking, right? And in this year that she won, it was in 1913, there was this composer, Gabriel Fauré, was there, and he was surprising. He wasn't part of the jury itself, but he wrote about it and commented publicly about the high level of technique and composition that she could master, already being so young. So imagine, she lived 5 years only after that. She would have written amazing things. Now, I'm trying to see, let's see, the next one is the link, I hope. No. Where is the music? Because when I go, I see it. It's just, there is this one video is inserted, is in the middle of it. Don't worry, the next one is the one I want to show. This is the Psalm 130, Du fond de l'abîme, and is titled also De Profundis. This is one...
Where do you want to start?
Minute 4. Okay. One of the pieces she wrote that has the opposite type of sonoric world than the piece we will play. The piece we will play is very light, it's very full of color and life. This one is somber, but I just wanted you to hear this since we are not playing this. Rebecca, yeah. It's just audio. Yeah, I think that gives you an idea. There is a climax. There is so much more. I could play 3 more minutes, but I think the audio quality here is not working ideally. So if you could please check on YouTube with her name, you're gonna find fantastic music. She wrote choral music like the genius she was. And so this is just a tiny taste. And one important thing, I had that photo there, but I don't know, I couldn't see it. Maybe I didn't send it to you, Rebecca, but you can find on YouTube too, or Googling it, the fact that they loved each other, the 2 sisters, so much that for the last pieces she wrote, Nadia, she had to dictate it to Nadia because she couldn't anymore, she was in bed. And Nadia would then write everything down for her and so on. And she dedicated a lot of her music to her sister, and they both were buried together. Once Nadia passed away, she wanted to be with her sister. So this piece I'm presenting to open the concert is this type of love, this pure love between 2 sisters, this duality of her being at the end of her life. This was one of the 3 or 4 last pieces that she wrote, the one we will play. And you are gonna not know that if you didn't know the context. What you are gonna hear is gonna be pure life and pure, force, inspiration and light. So yes, I found that this piece has a lot of meaning when we talk about love. The second piece we will present is titled Tumblebird Contrails. And this is something I had to try to understand what the meaning is. It's kind of made up phrase. And she wrote this piece, the composer's name is Gabriela Smith. She was born in California and raised there, and she is an activist for the environment and does a lot of volunteer work for that. And she goes a lot backpacking in groups and by herself. She's of course been a composer and successful when she has been performed by the best orchestras and the best conductors. This piece we will perform, you can find it on YouTube in the 2020 or 2021, I don't remember which year, a Nobel Prize concert in Stockholm. And Esa-Pekka Salonen is conducting the piece. I extracted, but the video doesn't work. You're gonna hear her voice, a video of her introducing the piece, since I wanted you to see her. But well, now we'll send links to you. Again, didn't want to bring a musical example of the piece because we're gonna have an ocean of an orchestra in this program. And you're gonna hear it then. And again, if you don't make it to the concert for some reason, I hope not, nothing happens, you can always find this piece on YouTube as better than we're gonna hear it here. So this is a piece that literally, I just give this away, describes in music, in sounds, in extended techniques, that is the technique in which the composer writes things for the instruments that are beyond what is usual and sometimes beyond to what the player knows about their own instrument, which for me is still mind-blowing that at this point in discovery of the instruments and what they can do, there is still composers that can find out new ways to use that beautiful thing and make new sounds, right? She's good at that. I've seen her. I covered for Esa-Pekka in San Francisco. Cover means I was the conductor that is there listening for feedback in rehearsals. And if something were to happen to the conductor, I had to conduct the piece. So I had to prepare for it. And I was with the San Francisco Symphony covering for Esa-Pekka. And they were premiering one of her other pieces, an organ concerto titled Breathing Forests, which is, for me, for example, is a perfect piece for Edmonton, right? Because the forests are there, the smoke in the piece, you can hear the fires, happening, and it's an organ concerto, and the concert hall there, the Winspire Center, has an organ. So that would be perfect for them. And for us, is this piece, because in this piece, you will be able to hear the ocean. You will be able, she was inspired by the Pacific Ocean, right? And you can hear the birds, all the different, she describes a little bit in this link I have for you, what she was inspired by and what you will for sure then hear in this massive orchestra, and the sounds you will not even easily recognize who is playing that, because there's going to be these extended techniques.
10 years ago, inspired by a solo backpacking trip I did in Point Reyes, which is a peninsula on the California coast where I grew up, hiking, backpacking, tide pooling on the rocky beaches, volunteering on a songbird research project, and generally spending as much time as I possibly could outdoors. On this particular occasion, I had been out there for about 3 days by myself and was nearing the end of my hike, feeling completely exhausted in the best possible way and not quite ready to go back to my life in civilization. So I remember setting down my pack and taking off my boots and sitting in the sand at the edge of the ocean on this huge expanse of beach, not another human in sight, listening to the sound of the ocean, the pounding surf, the gulls, that sizzle of sea foam, feeling the sand between my toes, the smell of salt air. This piece became my way of capturing the sound and feeling of that moment. But as I continued to work on the piece, and even more so in the decade since, as climate disasters have become an increasing part of our daily lives, and yet still there has been criminally inadequate climate action from our leaders on a large-scale systemic level. The music also came to be about the grief, loss, fear, and rage I have experienced as a result of the climate crisis, and also the joy in getting to work and in being part of climate solutions, because in a time when it sometimes feels so easy to slip into despair at the magnitude of everything we're facing, I want people to understand that there are people all around them who refuse to give up and who are devoting their lives, our lives, to climate solutions in incredibly joyful ways that we all can and all need to be a part of, and that the only way I've experienced real hope is by taking action with other people as a community, and that it doesn't need to be seen as a sacrifice, but an honor to live at a time when we're needed and called to do this work.
Yeah, that is what she said. And when I met her, she was 32 years old, and I think she might be now around 34, if I remember right. Yeah, so she's very young, and she is writing great music. So in this first half of the concert, we will have some poetry. We have, yes, please. Since there is nothing there to see, you're beautiful. We should look at you. So we have poetry in this first half of the concert, and the guests are Titi Lopez-Onuga, who was the 9th Edmonton Poet Laureate. She is from Nigeria and had been living there in Edmonton for over 30 years when I met her, and I invited her for this as a storyteller for this first program I did in Edmonton. Then the second program I could curate of new music in Edmonton. I didn't want to dedicate it only to female composers. It was just about people and about composers and music and things. And then I discovered another poet in the sister city of Calgary, who had been the poet laureate there, the 6th poet laureate there, and his name is Wakefield Brewster. And he calls himself AKA the Lyrical Pitbull. And he is kind of a like hip-hopsy type of delivery of his poetry. He's a trained musician. He studied piano. And yeah, he is very groovy in the way he presents his work. So these two beautiful people that I met, he grew up in Toronto, and he's from here, from Canada. These beautiful people that I met and I worked with individually, later on I asked them if they would like to collaborate together. And they love each other from afar and admire each other's work. And they said, yes, please, yes, we want to do something. So in the first half of the concert, they will be performing their own, because they're both performers of their poetry. And you will hear their voices. I had the videos for you to see them, but now actually it's even better. You will see them then. And they are great at delivering that. So it came to me that they could do the first half of the concert with these two pieces in this context of love, of different love, sisterhood and nature and people in general and the world, and make the world a better place. They can bring their work in which they talk about issues that are current, that they care about. And in the second half of the concert, I had programmed already Prokofiev's Romeo and Juliette. And in the process of programming this, as soon as I thought of many in the wish list, right, that we all have for things we want to do, I thought of, okay, this is the perfect piece, love and pain and all that together. And why aren't they both also sharing words of poetry by Shakespeare and being basically in a very, very succinct way, Romeo and Juliet? So they will be doing that. They are going to be so generous to be actors too, because that's not their poetry then. And people confuse sometimes. People think poets are actors. No, it's two different things. You can write the most emotive words and not being able to say them in the best way, but you will need an actor for that. So I think they're going to debut as actors probably for us, because they're going outside of their comfort zone, which is something that I love to do for myself and for others around me when we're creating art. Like, why don't you do this? And most often happens to me that people are, well, I've never done that. Well, do it for the first time. So they are going to be in moments between movements, without interrupting the music, saying some of the words, original words of Shakespeare, of Romeo and Juliet. And then something I added some days ago to this concert that I will tell you last. So, but here Prokofiev wrote this ballet, right? He went back from having been in the States for some time, around 2 decades, having this voluntary exile for what was happening in the Soviet Union. And then around 1934, he decided to go back, because he was also excited for what was going to be happening there in the future, and he was welcomed as a hero, basically. And already then in the negotiations here for writing a ballet, he was very inspired to write a ballet. And many themes were offered to him, Tristan und Isolde, and Peleas et Mélisande, and then Romeo and Juliet. And he was like, that one, I want to work on that. And that was in collaboration. The synopsis of the words by Shakespeare were proposed to him by Adrian Piotrowski. And then later another collaborator for the story was Sergei Ratzlov. And that was in the, sorry, I forgot. The Bolshoi was where it happened, and this was in the Kirov. Kirov Ballet was the place where this proposal was given to him to do. And there were many obstacles, though, for the piece to happen. The organization had its own issues, and also he had written first, was asked to write a happy ending to the story, but it didn't work. And so the work was in testing, like workshops, until then he was convinced by the conductor that premiered this piece to do it simply as it was intended. And then around 1940, that was brought then to the Bolshoi theater, and that is where the piece was premiered. Now, he wrote originally the ballet, and then the conductor that premiered the piece was Yuri Fayer. I just wanted to remember the last name because I always forget his last name. And this ballet was later very successful, and he wrote from it 3 suites and for orchestra and a piano suite. We will be performing the second ballet suite. All of the suites are different and tell different stories per se. In this one occasion that we will be performing this music, I was telling you that we will have some words by Shakespeare, and then in some movements, if you were here at the Cuban festival, you could see it occurred to me to have a dancer because the daughter of one of our players, Miguelito Valdes, the trumpet player, is a dancer, and she's was born in Canada, but her parents are Cubans, and she knows, as you could perceive, to dance these Cuban genres, merging them with the classic training that she's receiving. And so that was something that already like a month and a bit more before the festival, I think of, oh wow, she could be dancing to these pieces. And then she was very excited and did it, and she said her mother told me that she was received in school with applause and everything because everybody was so proud of her solo work. Sometimes, more when you're young and a student, you don't get the opportunities yet to perform as a solo. And she was very happy for that. Well, the other day, it was truly 5 days ago, I'm discussing with the poets what we're going to be doing, editing the words by Shakespeare. We're doing it. I gave them the content of what I want them to say, but I want them to put it in their own words. And if the pacing of their words is specifically fast or slow, we will need to edit down some of that. So I'm collaborating with them. And then there is some numbers that don't tell a story really in the suite. And that everything is a ballet. It was conceived originally to be a ballet, right? And I'm like, we have a ballerina, so why not have her do that? So, but of course, everything takes logistics, so I had to reach out to Margot and be like, can we have this, and can we do that? And without adding costs to the orchestra, because everything has to be translated into the budget. So they are very happy to be part of it, because she's a child. She's actually the age Juliette was in the story. She just turned 14. So she's going to be dancing to some of the numbers. And it came to me, in one of them is called The Young Juliette. So I'm like, she has to do it. And then she's going to bring even a partner that will be dancing with her, a male partner, in some other numbers. And we'll see what will happen. She's not going to be dancing the whole numbers, but she will come and go and do as much as she can in this amount of time. So this is the way I think it's fun to tell a story. It's fun to have a program that is always evolving, that it can always be better or more. Doesn't always mean more is better. Sometimes less is better. Not as people say, my English, when I'm learning my English, less is more. No, it's not. Less is less. Sometimes it's better. Most of the time it can be better, but not more. So anyways, I'm very literal when I learn new phrases. I'm like, what do you mean by that? And so this is the story of how this program came together. Still, many things will happen from here and from when we're going to be performing it for you, sharing it with you. You're a very important part of that. And I would like to welcome questions from you that you have in general, not only about this program, but about music making, about the orchestra, about anything that you may want to ask about.
Do you have any comments on the performance coming up, the Mozart?
Oh, yes. Well, this program is also particularly powerful for me. We have the premiere of Songs Without Words by Dorothy Chang. Dorothy Chang is a composer who is based in Vancouver. And she has written, the orchestra had been, before I got here even, part of my audition was to record one of the pieces commissioned by female composers with poetry by Tina Biello. And this work by Dorothy Chang will complete that album of songs for female voices. And this will be interjected between those songs with movements of music without words. So the soloists here will be clarinet, Christopher Lee, our principal clarinet in the orchestra. The second movement is for harp and for cello. Lani is our principal harpist. Lani, last name is Kratz. And Hannah Adario Berry is our principal cello. And then for the third movement is a piece, all of this is for these instruments and strings. And the third movement is for flute and strings by Paolo Bottosoli. And we have also by Respighi, Trittico Botticelliano. It's a gorgeous piece for a small orchestra that has piano, harp, and then one of the woodwinds. So one flute, one oboe, clarinet, a bassoon, and then has one horn and one trumpet and the strings. And it's a gorgeous piece. Sounds quite French, but Respighi sounds that mix of Italian and French music. And then in the second half, we have Mozart's Jupiter Symphony. It's the most mature, his very last symphony, and with the legendary 5 voices fugue in the fourth movement, and fun music to play, difficult, challenging always, but in the best way possible. We always want to play this piece. And yeah, this will be the program that we will be presenting. And in the pre-concert talk, I will be inviting Dorothy and the soloists to be talking with each other for you. Any other question? Yes, Rebecca?
Cosette, the poets you mentioned, where are they from? You didn't say where they were from.
Oh, I didn't show actually. I had the poets to show you, but we don't have time. It's fine. How many minutes do we have left?
10, 12.
I can show you still.
Call us a prayer. Say we are a song. Say our laughter is praise song, our tears a holy water. Beloved and blessed sis, well and witness love. Ours is the chorus of a hymn where one chord is thank you, and another is yes and amen. By blood or chosen bond, in the trenches and in the peaks, from valley to rolling river, we journey through and count it all joy, count it all evidence of living. From my grateful mouth I pull the ribbon of a poem and bend a word into a bow. We are the gift, we are the endless offering. Our love is biblical as any parable of courage, of betrayal, of grit or grace. And this is my testimony, that in the light of my sister's love I see the truth of redemption, and know why even the Savior of the world journeyed with friends, and still it was a woman who waited, who saw first and believed.
Let it be so. Let it be so. Amen.
And now I want to play for you a poem that Wakefield Brewster performed for us when I invited him in Edmonton. This is the last one he presented, and I love this poem. It's titled, I Can.
This poem is called, I Can. After 2 decades of delivery on the MIC, unbelievably, people still asking me, what can you do with poetry? That question used to make me angry. It used to get me hot. Now I tell them have a seat and ask them how much time they got. For you see, with poetry, I can. Duly danced down those same halls of learning where I once had the yearning to be a well-accomplished human with a 4.0, but my GPA was sadly way far below. I never got the knack of the educational flow. They made me sit still, so I stood still. I can confidently, comfortably cruise into classrooms where I was once coerced to create a captured, cornered mental state so I could clearly create a way to hate my own mind by my educators. They were edu-haters. They formed a form to form my formative years, tainted with intolerance and a tidal wave of tears that sailed all of my dreams away from me. For they likened my self-image with one of stupidity. It was all that I heard and all that I could see. I can now be free. When I was once imprisoned by a mental prism, my errant splay thoughts were like hot colored rocks, endless ammunition for the slings of possibility, but impossibly all of my targets eluded me. For I was living in the kingdom of couldn't be me. I couldn't see the lock, so I didn't need the key. And when they finally let me go, they said, "You don't know poetry." I can versify being victimized into a valiant victory. Verify that when you vilify, you eventually gotta deal with me. The transformation was tremendous. I took the word stupid and I made it stupendous. I began to manhandle the land of language, that language in apathetic and anonymous anguish. I did decide to dissect and divide indefinitely, indubitably, what diction was due to me. Stab a psyche with a simile, sometimes slip left of center, see, so as to step off into a soliloquy. Ale the English alphabet with an oral atrocity. I can wear the face of mental agility, dispel the myth of dental fragility, and proudly embrace my so-called disability. ADD, ADHD, OCD, PTSD. Now I've made an acronymphomaniac out of me, and never once before have I so ever loved ME. I can turn my inventive imagination into a physical infatuation, not like sugar, not the hard refined, not like sweetener, not the artificial kind. I don't need heroin because I'm a heroine, my own mind. Spent some time with my mentality, and what I did find is I can learn. And poetry taught me when the truth is unfurled, I'm the only one man who can change my world, so I can do anything. What can I do with poetry? I ask you, why don't you tell me?
Yes, here it's important to see him, right? As it's important to see her. So they're both performers of her piece, and he has other subjects to talk about that can be like not as challenging as this one, right? Very, uplifting, and he's full of love and for people and great energy. And she can challenge you too. So it depends on the piece that you choose by them. And seeing their names in the website, you can Google them, look on YouTube, and you will see many of their pieces there. They're really, really fun to listen to. So these are our guests for that one program. And again, we can continue with, we have some 4 minutes or so for any question you may have.
There are many moving pieces in that concert that you're preparing. How many rehearsals do you have when all these pieces are coming together?
Yeah, so the first thing we have a lot of is emails. Oh my God, we write so many emails for one concert. It's like hundreds of emails, I promise you. It's months away from the year before planning it, but then when you really have to do the production of it, you have to think of every detail and try to communicate in advance as much as you can. So what one must do, is to plan all the different pieces, separated pieces, to perfection, individually. Because then the time to get together is very short. We have 3 rehearsals and a dress rehearsal then. So a Thursday evening, 2 on Friday, and the dress on Saturday, and then the concert. Right? And when we get to repeat the concert, we do that. But it's truly 4, but 1 is dress, which counts, but it's kind of like to play almost everything, or sometimes the orchestra needs to absolutely play everything as it is in the concert, and then that's it. And yes, before you try to prepare everybody on imagine, of course, all these moving parts, I have to have them in my mind. For the Cuban festival was insane because we are 3 people in our team, and then all what artistically happened had to come from my mind, my own vision, my ideas. My team was there to support what is that you want. We're gonna make it happen. But I had to think of everything, every detail, right, throughout the whole weekend. So yes, it's a lot of work, but again, it's fun when you see it happening and when you see what it can do to us, all the messages that can come across. Somebody had a question here? No? I thought I had seen something when, yeah.
Is that sort of complexity something that conductor school prepares you to, or is something that you learn afterwards?
No, yes, also, thank you. Is this type of complexity something that conductors are trained for and we learn that in school somehow, or is something that comes afterwards? No, we don't. Actually, not many conductors do that. This is kind of a wish for more like, I know the term in Spanish, sorry, Wagner's term for obra de arte total, like this total piece of art when he wanted to apply it to opera. It's like, if you are a storyteller, you are not told in school how to do that, right? We learn all the techniques for conducting, all the theory of music, the instrument playing that we get to, piano or more, or the ensemble rehearsal, but you don't learn anything about the business, the industry, the psychology of conducting, which is so important in conducting. You have to communicate, you have to come across, you must make your musicians feel inspired to do what they do and want to do it with you. Many say, I love to play for you, but I'm like, it's with me, it's not for me. But like all these elements are something that is a flaw in the way we learn, but apparently in school we don't learn half of what we truly need for our professions. So yeah, this type of complexity is an option. There's many great conductors having a career just showing up to conduct the pieces that they programmed, and it's all core repertoire, and they don't have to go through, because when you go into living composers, that gets complicated. Because it's a living piece. It's a piece that was never written or was written recently, and there is no tradition for that piece of performance. But also, as you can see, you can do that too with a piece that is not new. You can insert things, you can rethink it, you can create a total theatrical way to do Messiah. This is one of my dreams, for example. I want to do Messiah where the choir is like a Greek choir. Is commentary, because the choir is so important in that piece, but not just sitting there or standing there in the back behind the orchestra. I want them to move. It has to be a chamber choir. It has to be these all moving parts, right? So I think it's more fun than always doing things in the traditional way, which I love too, and some music requires that level of focus and tranquility and things like that. One last question, yeah?
You have 2 questions. One is, what is the instrument you specialize in?
What is the instrument I specialize in? And do you want to ask the second question?
The other one, when the gentleman read his poem, it sounded to me almost like rap. And I don't know whether it's being older or what, but I find it really hard to understand and follow when they talk so fast. And also now we only get 1 sheet for the program. And it would be really nice if these poems could be written out, that you can follow it.
Okay, these are good points. And I will say something. For the first question, I studied piano. That was the instrument I specialized in, but not for being a concert pianist, right? And I have, as performer, been bold enough to do in Edmonton. I did with the Edmonton Opera Così fan tutte, the Mozart's opera from the harpsichord. So I played the harpsichord in front of people for the first time in my life doing the opera. It went very well. I'm crazy. I might not do that again, but no, I actually will. But I will feel again that it's impossible. Until then, I'm doing it. So as I said, I like to put myself also in challenging positions as I put others. And the second question, yes, you're right. For example, I was very, would have been happier if we could have shown the video, because I am, as a non-speaking English speaker person, I need to read people's lips when they talk to me. So when I have meetings, people sometimes ask for a phone call, and I said, no, I need a video. I need a video call because I need to see you and you see me. and so on. So I think that seeing them will be helpful. I think they're very aware of projecting the sound so that, and articulating so that it will come across, because that's the whole thing. But you're very right, that is like rap. He is like hip-hop type of performer of his poetry. Titilope is more, she takes her pace, slower pace. So it will be interesting to see them collaborate too. And that will be, again, both of them will have to change their pace a little bit to adapt to each other, whatever the moment requires. And I will see with our team, it all depends on the budget, how we could do. We could even probably put the words, ideally would be actually to put them on the screen, actually, because like, with that darkness, you're not gonna even know where you are or remember what you read. So let's see what we can do about that, and we'll try to make it happen. That's why I say we are still 1 month and some away from the concert, and the planning can still be better. So thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you very much, Cosette. I think that's a perfect place to, as I spoke in the beginning, the difference between the conductor and the artistic director, totally exampled here in somebody who is capable of envisioning on the really big, complex artistic scale. And I know you can do it, and I'm so excited to see next week's concert and the one in April.
Thank you
under
so much
your vision.
Thank you. And thank you to each of you for being curious, for being here, and for helping improve the next concerts.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.